Give me
Well,
a
hello,
minute.
welcome
I'm
to
just
it's
finishing it. Yeah.
well, just as we were talking about what Abhishek Da was doing, and here we are live with all of you again. Welcome to Live Score Presents Cricket News Live, and I'm Rahul Pandey, joined by Abhishek Mukherjee, about to talk what we saw last night. Was quite the win. The last two games, what we have seen are two big jumps from Team India, not just in terms of two big wins, but also in terms of the net run rate, which was being talked about. And now, after two matches, India have their net run rate from minus 1.61 to plus 1.61. Well, what a win it was the other night against Scotland in Dubai, India's first in this T20 World Cup at the venue, and they won the toss for the first time. They elected to bowl first. The bowlers did the job, restricted Scotland at 85. They had to chase out the total in 7.1 overs. Well, they did that with four balls to spare out of the 7.1. Abhishek, what were your thoughts about the win, and how does the story go on from here as far as Group 2 is concerned?
And all India needed to do was win, which was expected that they would, and in the end, nothing is going to matter unless Afghanistan beat New Zealand.
Yeah, yeah, that one's
So
going to be the
essentially,
big.
and I didn't understand the fuss over 7.1 overs. It is not that any of the sides are not going to play again, and the net run rates will be
Yeah,
frozen at this point, and nothing of that
yeah,
sort. It's just maybe 2 days of joy for Indian fans. Other than that,
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
it's
the
it's
moment
festive
Afghanistan
season out
plays their
here, Abhishek.
the moment Afghanistan play their next match, their
Yeah,
net run rate will change. It will either go up or down. So it made
yeah,
little sense. It's okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, it was some sort of a positive after the first two games that we saw, and
but it
immediately
was also
after.
expected.
Yeah, it was. But immediately after the game, there were the what if scenarios that were built up by fans because that's what we do as fans. We just talk about the game so much. And winning the toss, it's a huge factor in Dubai. And the difference between the first innings and what purchase the batters get in the second one has been just huge this time around. And I believe that's what we saw yesterday, and we can't just help ourselves but think about what could have happened in the first two games that India won the toss as well.
Against Scotland, India would have won had they batted first as well.
Yeah,
I mean, even if they batted first, they would have, even if they had batted like they did against Pakistan, they would have got to 140 and that would have been enough.
yeah,
I mean, against Pakistan, they got 140 odd, and I'm pretty much sure. I mean, we saw that in the New Zealand Namibia match.
mm,
Essentially, Namibia were in it until New Zealand were 96, until the 16th over. New Zealand were 96 for 4
yeah,
after 16 overs. But in the end, I mean, the difference of quality between the two teams showed after that.
yeah,
So at one point, I mean, until and unless the weaker of the two sides consistently, I mean, triggers a collapse or something, or
yeah,
someone
yeah,
plays an outrageous innings,
yeah,
India were always going to win.
yeah, yeah. Well, a few boxes ticked in the win, and these are the things that matter. Captain Virat Kohli post the game talked about it in the presentation that he's pleased to watch how all of the players, most of them, are coming into their T20 zone, and we saw that with the openers in the last two games. This one particularly, 70 runs added for the first wicket of 30 balls by the two of them.
I'll tell you what I found funny.
Okay,
Pant and Pandya got to bat in the Afghanistan match, and
yeah,
here also India wanted quick runs, but it was as if
yeah.
okay, you two batted the other night, so tonight Surya and I will do the batting.
आज तेरी बारी नहीं आएगी आज उन दोनों को बैटिंग मिलेगी yeah, it
It
was
was
that.
funny. It was funny.
It was. And it was good to see how KL Rahul has got into his own zone in the last two games. I mean, he's just on a different planet when he bats like that. And you obviously get a boost from your openers batting the way they have done in the last two games.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Somehow, over the past 2 years, 3 years, someone has convinced KL Rahul that he needs to bat through 20 overs, at least 16, 70 overs, and play cautiously. That is not the natural KL Rahul.
yeah,
That is not what made him the T20 champion. He is a phenomenal batter. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know what made him give up his natural cricket and play those long innings for Punjab. I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
understand. This is what he is best doing. He has such a huge range of shots. He can play so naturally. He can go. I mean, he can play almost any ball anywhere, and he can demolish
yeah,
any attack. This was not even a great attack, but he can take on any attack. Why was he focused? I don't know. I mean, this Rahul, this change came started showing in Punjab's last league match. I think it was Chennai, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that was when the first indications came that okay, we are getting the old Rahul back.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The one
So
in 2018, the one of IPL 2018. Yeah, but that's the thing, and let's just talk about KL Rahul for once. We've spoken about him a lot in the last 2 years, given that strike rate bit. But do you think it's because of the captaincy factor? Do you think because he has to think about the whole team, he has to think about what to be done in those 20 overs as a captain first rather than a batter?
see, I feel I feel these are team strategies decided by the entire team management, and you don't
Sure.
decide them on the field because we have seen captains do this. We have seen Brendan McCullum bat while captaining.
Yeah.
I mean, he also opened, he also led a side.
Yeah.
He did not bat
Yeah.
like this. So, cap,
He couldn't help himself but bat like the way he does.
but yeah, I mean, a lot of cricket. I mean, 20 years ago we saw Jayasurya lead. So
Yeah.
I mean, we have also seen Afridi lead. So essentially, I believe that the captain of the side, or even a not captain, every cricketer, unless the team desperately demands something else,
Yeah.
should do what they are doing, what they do best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any cricketer, and it is not that it was helping Punjab. Punjab were not winning a lot of matches.
Yeah.
I don't really know why Rahul stuck to this self, but yeah, okay, he's coming back to his own self.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, talking about coming back to his own self or their own self, we also saw a good outing as far as Indian bowlers were considered yesterday. 3 for 15 were the figures for Mohammad Shami and Ravindra Jadeja. Ravindra Jadeja getting turn as well as getting those straight ones to get the batters out. That's when he is at his deceptive best because those two variables do set him apart in terms of the left arm spinners, and he bowls quick as well on those surfaces. What did you make of India's bowling last night?
I think on see Scotland has some excellent batters, but I don't think they have got much practice against bowlers of Jadeja's class
Yeah,
on a pitch that helps.
yeah,
So essentially, that is all the more reason associate nations should play full member nations even more.
yeah,
Basically, we saw that in the Namibia Sri Lanka match as well. The Namibians, we can see the Namibians bat well. They played well against Netherlands, Scotland, Ireland, but against Sri Lanka, they were left wanting because none of them had played bowlers like Hasaranga or Thikshana ever.
yeah,
You don't get to play the bowlers of not only that class but also of that kind
yeah,
every day, which is why these. I mean, I don't think the Scotland batters have had. I mean, Had they played bowlers of, I mean, see, Jadeja has 200 over 200 Test wickets,
Yeah.
and he can run through sides. I mean, he has he has taken down full-fledged Test sides in Test
Yeah.
cricket.
Yeah.
So unless you play more against bowlers of that quality, of the quality of Ashwin, Jadeja, Shami, and Bumrah, who between them form a Test attack, full-fledged
Yeah.
Test attack. So
Yeah. Yeah.
unless you play attacks like that, even I mean every now and then, I don't think
Yeah.
you have a chance to do well on pitches that help bowlers.
Fair point. That's a
See,
fair point.
bowling and fielding, you can learn through discipline. I mean, through hard work. Fielding is probably the best leveling ground among all sides. Every side can produce good fielders with practice. Bowling, if you have a coach and if you practice, but practice, you'll get good bowling. You won't be able to run through sides probably, but you can form a disciplined attack. You
Yeah.
can form a who have good line length and variations. That is something you
Yeah.
can acquire. But for but to improve your batting, you need to practice against good bowling, batting is because bowling is what you do. Batting is a response.
Yeah.
So unless you practice against good bowling, you can't improve your batting.
So, by that sense, can we make out that the best of bowling attacks in a team can produce a nice batting attacks via net sessions and trainings?
That's how it works. I mean,
So
if
that
the
is
bowlers,
nice.
if a world class bowling attack bowls full throttle at the batters, over time
Yeah.
they will become one of the most formidable batting lineups, provided
Yeah.
the same batters keep playing. But
Yeah.
these days, I think the focus has also shifted towards what do you call throwdowns, knockdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the traditional net sessions have been replaced. And in
Yeah.
T20 also, the T20 practice sessions have changed. Instead of the traditional net practice, a lot of sides now get an entire ground to themselves. They send the
Yep.
batters to the middle and ask them to hit sixes
Yep.
in any direction they choose. Because in the match they have to hit sixes. They don't have to play every ball by the MCC coaching manual. The whole point
Yeah.
is to hit sixes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
It's different.
the nets don't give you an idea about how far the boundary is on each direction. Batting in the
Yeah.
middle of an open ground gives you that idea.
Yeah. Well, as far as batting in the middle of an open ground is concerned, Cricket Scotland's Twitter admin yesterday posted an image of Virat Kohli talking with the Scotland players in the dressing room. The caption suggested, "How do you bat on a green top in Aberdeen?" And you can only think how big a mouth-watering prospect it can be. India playing a test match there, nice one. They are visiting England, of course, next summer. Can be a good bit for both the teams there.
Of course,
And
I think it should be made mandatory for every team touring England on a reasonably long tour. It should be
yeah,
made mandatory for them to tour Netherlands, Scotland, and Ireland. And similarly, if you tour India, you ideally should play matches against I mean, Afghanistan, maybe a one day in Nepal, and if you tour
yeah,
Australia and New Zealand, if you should be to playing a match or two in PNG. Similarly, for South Africa, you have to tour in Zimbabwe and Namibia, and so
yeah,
on. That is how it grows. That is the
yeah,
only way it grows. Associate nations can't grow if they keep playing against only associate nations.
yeah.
They have to play
Yes.
more of these attacks. Scotland, Scotland played, as I said, a test strength bowling attack, a test quality bowling attack on a pitch where batting was not easy. If they unless they keep doing that on a regular
Yeah.
basis, the batting will not become world class.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, one can argue that bowling in the big format can also help you be more disciplined in the other formats. You
Yes,
know
yes,
how big the stakes are when you bowl with that red ball, and you understand different aspects of the game.
yes.
So that'll be handy to see as well. But let's talk about the group now. India, well, the hopes have all of a sudden rejuvenated, but we know that it's all going to go with that Afghanistan New
I
Zealand
don't
match.
know.
And we're going to find out after that Afghanistan New Zealand match
I
whether
don't know what
Mondays
hopes are
came.
there. The moment India lost the first two matches, India's fate was sealed.
Yeah,
They had to win three matches by big margins, which was
yeah,
predicted and which was expected as well, and that is what is happening. What was expected to happen is happening.
yeah,
New Zealand Afghanistan, that is the key match, and that is not in
yeah,
India's control. So I mean, the table is proceeding in exactly the same way it was expected to.
yeah. Well, a certain
Scotland did
Ravichandran
well against
Ashwin.
New Zealand.
Yeah,
Scotland did well against New Zealand. They lost by
yeah,
16 runs. Namibia held New Zealand for 16 overs and then let it go.
yeah.
Okay, they
They scored
tried.
76 of the final 6 overs. 76 of the last six. Glenn Phillips and Jimmy Neesham.
You can cut it down further. They scored 67 in the last 4 overs.
Yeah, that was some fight. And yes,
96, 96 after 16 overs. Namibia were, I think, 92 after 16 overs. That is how close the first 16 overs were. In the last, and then New Zealand finished on 163. Namibia finished on 111 because they simply didn't have the middle order firepower to push them.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean that is the kind of edge test playing nation, one of the probably the best all formats team in the world right now, holds over an associate nation.
yeah,
On another
yeah,
day, when New Zealand were Phillips and Nisham were trying to hit those sixes, one or two might have been edges, might have been caught on the on just inside the boundary line, anything.
yeah. Maybe 120 and 130 to chase. Who knows? Would
Yeah,
have been different. Yeah, yeah. But we are talking about this particular group, and we are
mind
talking
yeah.
about India.
So
Yeah,
Afghanistan versus New Zealand, the whole point of this matches India will expect Afghanistan to beat New Zealand so that India can themselves knock Afghanistan out. So that is what
so they're
happened.
basically prepping them up for a win, for to be
Hmm.
followed by a beatdown.
Huh.
That's what they're prepping them for.
Hmm.
Which is kind of nice. But I don't know how it would be called in Afghanistan's terms. But let's talk about another factor which I found interesting doing rounds on the social media yesterday. One of the journalists from Telegraph, I believe, tweeted that it's weird to suggest, but now that Afghanistan also are looking at India's net run rate, they might want to go all guns blazing in that final game, win it by a big margin,
Yeah.
and eventually maybe lose it. I mean, it's bonkers to suggest. It's kind of like 6D
No.
chess being
What?
played,
What?
but
What? What? India, Afghanistan. Sorry, Afghanistan will score a lot of runs, and then what?
so Afghanistan, if they try and go for a big win, might
Mm.
end up losing it as well.
Yeah.
That was a suggestion, yeah.
Afghanistan will of
And
course want to win. Afghanistan have a chance to of qualifying.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. India's big win last night has now tempted them to finish with a big win themselves. For themselves, of course, they're not doing India a favor. They're going to try and qualify for themselves. But in doing so, they might end up on the losing side against
They
New
might
Zealand,
also
and
end up on
things.
the winning side.
Who knows?
Remember, New Zealand are the favorites. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about this against
yeah,
Afghanistan. If Afghanistan have to do something, they have to do something. And New Zealand plan well. They plan meticulously. If Afghanistan have to do well, they have to outplan New Zealand.
Yeah. So we've been joined by Pandeji Shivansh on Facebook. He's asking the question here: how much needed by Afghanistan to win against New Zealand? I presume that's his question, and I think he's asking how much Afghanistan need to surpass India in terms of the net run rate
It
to
will
win
not.
versus Zealand. Yeah,
It will not matter in the first scenario because India's net run rate won't be frozen. India will get another chance and India will play last.
yeah. That's the
But
final league stage, Super 12
Afghan,
game. Yeah,
okay, but to answer that question, I'll just check the numbers. I'll give you a
I think it's
screenshot of
30
it.
or 40 run maybe,
Yeah,
because the
around 30,
difference
40.
is, yeah, of point 20 something, the difference between
But
the net run rate. Yeah,
remember this. If India beat Namibia by a narrow margin, India's net run rate will drop.
they need to big win. They need to big win
So
there as well.
it it doesn't matter how many. All that matters is whether Afghanistan wins or not. If Afghanistan
Yeah.
wins, India will almost certainly qualify unless the next last match is washed out or something.
Oh my God! Please, I mean,
No,
we just played.
you can't have a
India just
washout,
played.
right? No, 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 no. Wait,
India
wait, 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 wait.
India played
Let me.
Scotland yesterday. Their first T20 I with them, which could have been 14 years back, unless and until it would have been a washout in that first T20 World Cup. So washouts are clearly not Indian fans intend to watch. But speaking of that, Abhishek, let's also move forward to the next one. Let's try and
Wait,
talk about the next one a bit.
this is the desert. You don't have washouts in deserts. I mean,
But
what
you,
am I talking
but you
about?
do,
You can have an incessant
you do.
sandstorm.
Yeah, that's kind of what we saw in IPL in one of the games. It was, of course, played after half an hour delay, but it did happen. Yeah, let's talk about the next one a
So,
bit. One of the things
okay,
that
so
has been bugging
essentially,
me about,
uh, let me do this. Yeah, about 40, 50 runs. This is, I'm doing some mental calculations. Afghanistan have to
yeah,
beat New Zealand, but it is, of course, yeah, but it won't matter.
because India have to play the next one against Namibia. They have the
Yeah,
advantage of having the knowledge about how big a margin they need to win the game by. So that's going to be decisive. Okay, let's talk about India against Namibia. It is going to happen, but we will know if the stakes of that game will be high or not once Sunday is done. So one of the things, India against left arm seamers. We talked about this before the India Pakistan game. We talked about this before the India New Zealand game. A certain Trumpelman would be very much
they've got an
delighted.
army of left arm seamers.
Yeah, but there's only one bowler who picked up 3 wickets in that first over.
I mean,
And
one left arm bowler seamer ends an over, and then another comes up. I
yeah,
mean,
that's going to be
you, they
exciting.
they replace they bowl left arm seamers at both ends, and
Yeah.
then when there's a bowling change, the change is also a left arm seamer.
So basically, you have a power play to watch out for. Might even be
Yeah.
3-3 at both ends. How do
No.
you suggest India go about with this threat in the final game of their Super 12 round?
See, I think what they did against Scotland, essentially. I don't think Namibia. I mean, unless the Indians collapse spectacularly, it has to be a spectacular collapse. Like, I don't even know. West Indies in the '96 World Cup against Kenya, Sri Lanka in against Kenya in the 2003 World Cup, Pakistan against Ireland or India against Bangladesh in the 2007 World Cup. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, something of that order. Unless that happens, I can't see India being troubled overly by Namibia. I mean, yeah, but these collapses did happen.
Yeah.
So
They have
No,
happened. They might
no
as well
point in being
happen.
complacent.
Yeah, yeah. It is going to be an important match, and it is one that the Indian fans will have
Remember,
their eye on. But before,
left arm seamers do well against India. Left
yeah,
arm seamers, along with some left arm seamers and wrist spinners, are
hmm,
the dominant. I mean, the most successful bowling. What do you call variants, types, styles? I mean,
yeah,
left arms, whatever it is, they are the
yeah,
most successful in T20 cricket, and Namibia have both. The bowling is deep, and Namibia has David Vise and others who have mm, experience in playing T20 franchises. So they have played a lot of matches. Essentially, they know what it is like to chase high targets.
yeah,
There is something, and I mean, they understand how to when to take risks and when not to. The whole concept of choosing your bowlers, I mean, understanding the field placements, accelerating when you
yeah,
want to, they understand it. They have the experience.
yeah.
This is not
That's
this is not similar to what it was, say 10-15 years ago,
yeah,
because they are just because they are inexperienced at international level doesn't mean that right now I mean, they are inexperienced. Namibia are inexperienced at international level, but their cricketers are not inexperienced at quality T20, high
yeah,
quality T20. They have played that, maybe not as a unit, but as individuals, so they know
yeah,
what it is like.
yeah, yeah. We saw them approach the game in the similar fashion against
Yes,
Pakistan. Yeah, they weren't
they
giving
did
them an
well
inch in
against
terms of the
and
run score.
they did well against Pakistan, and they had New Zealand. They had held New Zealand back for 16 overs.
Yeah,
And New Zealand took it away, but on one of those days, New Zealand could not have taken it away as well.
yeah. Well, remains to be found out, and we will find that out come Sunday and Monday as to what the fate of Group 2 is going to be like. Or, in other words, from India's player of the match last night, Ravindra Jadeja, नहीं जीते तो बैग पैक करके घर जाएंगे, which was clear as it comes. And thank you so much, Abhishek Mukherjee, for joining us talking about this one. We will be back after India's next one. It's going to be exciting. We might as well do a live just before India's game against Namibia. Well, it's all going to depend on how Sunday's game turns out. Stay tuned to Cricket News for everything you want to read or watch about cricket. Stay safe, and until next time.